Faces that radiated with confidence, expressions that signaled victory, celebrations that welcomed the change. Even before the polling booths opened, masses of people gathered in urban centres of Burma to rejoice the impending re-entry of their beloved leader, Aung San Suu Kyi. The day before by-elections, Kono, Suu Kyi's constituency, was enveloped by a sea of red. The rivaling government party USDP's supporters, sparse in numbers, were muted in comparison. On April 1st, as polling stations opened early morning, the NLD offices were bustling with activity as people gathered to greet their local representatives contesting in the elections. In Mingala Township, NLD's contestant Puputin spoke to journalists, confident that she would secure a seat. After a long wait, we're finally close to a victory that the government will have to recognise. Election observers stationed at different polling booths expressed satisfaction with the manner in which polls were conducted, which they described as relatively free and fair with a few discrepancies. By afternoon, NLD supporters gathered at the party's headquarters in Yangon, awaiting the preliminary results. Quickly, the crowd swelled in numbers from a few hundred to tens of thousands. As poll results trickled in for the 45 constituencies, the crowds cheered on, growing more exuberant by the hour, as NLD announced victory in one district after another. Inside the NLD headquarters, Chairman Tino discussed the party's agenda and Suu Kyi's victory, which was later confirmed by election officials. This is a flicker of democracy on a long road to reform, but there is no turning back, he said. Suu Kyi will be vested with making astute political decisions in the coming months regarding her seat in the parliament and forging alliances to strengthen her reach in the capital Naypyidaw, the government stronghold. The current administration is clearly eager to garner support from the international community to catapult the country out of economic isolation by proposing wide-ranging reforms. But to millions in the country still struggling for basic services such as healthcare and education, such claims are hollow without a direct positive impact on their lives. By late evening on April 1st, Suu Kyi's victory was increasingly corroborated through local sources. The 67-year-old is poised to re-enter politics with a sweeping victory, and her proverbial stage has been 22 years in the making. The next morning, Yangon woke up to an ordinary day without as much red or revelry. The city was back to business per usual, but on a more optimistic note than in the past few decades. As Burma enters a new phase in its political scene, there will be continuing international and domestic focus on sanctions and development, freedom of speech and media reform, human rights and basic services for all.